think we're live. Sri, are we live?
I think so. I can see you.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, Internet. Welcome, LinkedIn. This is part 2 of our series, our LinkedIn Live series. I'm going to jump here into a quick diagram here. Talking about Snowflake as the source of truth for customer data and as an actual marketing engine and your CDP. So just for some quick introductions and agenda, we'll talk through some introductions. We'll talk through some architecture diagrams about Snowflake and the emergence of this really being the central source of truth across a business. Then Sri, I'll pass it to you to do some quick demo of the Snowflake platform and specifically talk about some sharing opportunities within a given Snowflake instance. Then I will talk a little bit more about Snowflake actually being your CDP, which is generally sort of a new concept here. And then we'll dive into a Hightouch demo to actually bring this full circle and save some time for Q&A here at the end. Okay, before we move on, we'll just do some quick introductions. I'm Andrew Jeshin. I'm a principal solutions engineer here at Hightouch. And Sri, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Andrew. Hello, everyone. I am Sridhar Sundaresan. I go by Sri. I've been in this industry for more than 20 years now, primarily dealing with the data. For the last few years, I'm with Snowflake, working as a senior sales engineer in the media vertical. I enjoy what we do here at Snowflake, solving all our customers' data problems. Andrew, thanks for having me here, and I am looking forward to this discussion.
Of course, yeah, super excited to have you here. So yeah, I'll come down into this first diagram. And if you tuned in last week, Alec and Lorenzo talked about this emerging model of using the data cloud or the data warehouse as the single source of truth across a business. So any organization that has a digital product, whether that's in media, it's in B2B SaaS, it's in e-commerce, has this sort of architecture where there are many different places that a business is collecting digital touch points on their customers. So this could be clickstream events coming from the digital product themselves, or replicating data from within other SaaS tools, or advertising data, or internal databases. And generally, it's all getting combined into some data cloud, data warehouse. And that's the central place and the true technology that's sort of flexible enough to combine all of this customer data and define your customer 360. So for the purpose of this conversation, I know we only have about 25 minutes. We wanted to tell a story through the context of a fake media company that we just invented called Invention Media. And we specifically sort of chose media just because, Sri, you have a extensive background in the media industry. So I wanted to kick it over to you to first talk about what are the key challenges you see marketers specifically running into in the world of media.
Sure, definitely. So if you ask any marketer, either it's an ad sales team or the customer retention team within the broader marketing teams, what are the main challenges marketers are facing today? Their first and foremost answer is going to be the changing landscape, right? The cookies and the IDFAs are going out. IDFAs, identifiers for advertisers, are going out. And next is likely going to be IP addresses. So it's going to be hard to track your customers' viewing pattern, what they are doing, how they are doing, in what platform they are watching program, how long they are watching programs, and things like that. Track their actual journey, and more importance is placed on first-party data now. The companies like Disney's and Discoveries of the world used to rely on cable and satellite providers to deliver their content to subscribers, but given the age of streaming services, publishers now have a direct relationship with the subscribers, which is a good thing. But with that comes vast amount of data, right? So the data currency and the vast amount of data is the primary challenge. The other one is addressability. From a marketing lens, there are so many places to advertise and so many platforms to advertise. So when it comes to specifically media content, since I'm working in this industry, we have connected TVs, linear television, streaming content, mobile apps, and other ways to deliver content and reach the consumer. A subscriber like me can watch the same content across multiple platforms. So the challenge becomes how to understand this journey and address the target audience appropriately on the right platform with the right message So that's challenge number two, the addressability. But the last but not the least is the customer data privacy concerns. The main requirement there is oftentimes the data should never be moved or copied over. That's a main requirement. The other one is ability to mask sensitive data and the right to forget the data, right? That's one of the requirements in that area. And the other one is sensitivity around item regulations like CCPA, GDPR, etc. Given this context, I would like to quickly jump into the demo and show how Snowflake actually solves these challenges, especially in the media industry. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and kick off this demo.
Sri, do we want to talk about this diagram below first, just about building a customer 360?
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, and just wanted to respond to your comments. Yeah,
Yeah.
just the idea that, we're centralizing this information in Snowflake. And really the key idea here is across your known customers, the shift towards first party data is defining and building this customer 360.
Sure.
So yeah, just wanted to pass to you now.
Yeah, sure. I'm so excited to jump into the demo. I just was
Yeah,
going
all
for
good.
that to lay the stage. I want to lay this. Set the stage here. So in the demo today, I'm going to show two imaginary fictitious companies. For company one on the right side, you see it's an invention. That's a first party data that we are going to deal with. On the left is the other fictitious imaginary company called HLBO. Bringing the data set together and do the overlap analysis and also do the enrichment of this data set using marketplace data provider. In this example, I'm going to be using Equifax data set that's available in our marketplace and build a complete customer 360-degree view, right? It's a real-time view. That's the main thing I want to call out. Then Andrew is going to take over and show how marketers can do the audience segmentation and activation based on this complete customer 360-degree view. So now let me jump onto the demo if there are no questions now.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm hoping you can see my screen now.
We can.
Okay, awesome. So in here, what we are seeing is the first party data set that I talked about, the inventions. It's all synthetic data set, no real data set, obviously. I've set up the subscriber and viewership data. For example, from the invention side, I'm looking at my subscriber data set, the basic information, demographic information, what's the name of the subscriber, their gender, zip code, email address, and whatnot. Same thing with the viewership. I've set up a volume data set, 1.5 million records in here. What are the programs the subscribers are watching in my network, how long they're spending the time on, what's the genre of the program, and very basic stuff here. So now my requirement is I want to be able to find the overlap subscriber between my network and my sister network. In this case, it's a second party data set. HLBO is my sister network. I want to find out what are the overlap customers I have with my other network and try to target some of these overlap customers, right? In a traditional model, if I were to operate, my second party data set oftentimes used to get shipped to me either as an FTP or an ETL job or get dropped in a object storage location. Then my data engineering team picks up this data set, stands up the database before my marketing team can do anything, make sense out of the data, right? But in case of Snowflake, all the Snowflake accounts are connected by our global interconnected network, enabling access to the data no matter where the data comes from, no matter what's the format of the data, what's the source of the data, and the velocity of the data, right? So I'm switching the scene here. I'm on the HLBO side, my second party data set side. And similar to my first party data set, I've set up two sample data sets here, subscriber data set and viewership data set. Same kind of information, volume data set of 1 million subscriber and around 1 million viewership records here. Next, I want to share this data set with the other first party that I showed you earlier, inventions. In Snowflake world, it's as simple as going and clicking few buttons and expose this data set. So I have already set, to make this demo interesting, I have already set up the share. This is the share I have set up. I'm sharing these two data set, my first party data set, subscriber and viewership data set. I'm sharing with my other Snowflake account, which is mimicking as my inventions account. I'm sharing with that account. Just one thing to keep in mind here is these are two totally separate Snowflake account. No matter which cloud region, what is the source of the data, it doesn't matter. It's a seamless, it's real time, right? The data is shared with the invention. And on the invention side, now I have access to my first party and second party data set. I bring them together and try to make sense out of my data, right? In here, this particular example, based on the synthetic data, what I'm seeing here is there are around 2,800 overlap subscribers between my first party data set and the second party data set I brought together. And I'm able to see between those overlap customers how it is spread out between different gender, male and female, right, among this 2,800 overlaps customers and then subscribers. And then I'm able to see what are the programs my overlap customers are watching across the network, both invention network as well as HBO network, right? And keep this in mind, the data that you are seeing here is near real-time data. As more subscribers are added to my account, my streaming service, or more subscribers are added to the second party data set or removed from the second party data set, it's reflected in a single place in my copy of the data set. There is no export import. You are looking at the real-time data, right? So few more details: what programs my overlap customers are watching in my sister network HLBO, what are the programs, say for a specific program in my sister network, what are the programs they are watching in my network, when did they watch the programs, and things like that, right? And in here that I'm doing further segmentation. I'm saying show me the list of female subscribers that are watching adventure genre, because I'm going to be targeting them. So one thing I want to call out here is what you are looking at this is a single copy of truth. It's the same data being worked by your BI team, your marketing team, as well as data science team. I can keep going on, independent of each other. There are isolated workload, all working on the same copy of the data, right? So I want to take this one step further. We have all this data, first party and second party data set put together. We are getting rich business insight out of it. Next, what I want to do is I want to know a little bit more about my subscriber. Let's say I want to know about their disposable income. What is the total income, or even the political affiliation and things like that. I can't get this data set information within my four walls. I need, in the traditional world, I need to reach out to the third-party data provider, deal with the same challenges as my second party data set. But in case of Snowflake, we have all those data set available in what we call as a data marketplace, right? There are around 200 plus providers in our data marketplace, spanning 17 plus categories, 1,500 listings, 1,500 more listings actually. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to narrow this down to marketing related data sets that are available in our platform. As you can see, I have data set from Experian, iTribble, Brace, Experian, right? Or HubSpot. I can keep going, right? There are around 273 data sets just specific to marketing category that's available in our marketplace. For the purpose of the demo today, I'm going to use this Equifax data set, right? This data set has got rich information like what are the wages and salaries of everyone in the continental US, right? What is the capital gain, this and that. I will let you read through this, but for the purpose of this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enrich my subscriber data set with this Income 360 data set and learn more about my customers, right? What is their income? For example, that's exactly what I've done. I took the data set, merged with my Equifax data set, and found out more information about my customers. And behind the scene, the marketplace is powered by the same secure data sharing as a direct share that I got from HLBO dataset. So what this means is customers can tap into live, ready to query data without any ETL, right? Ultimately reducing integration cost. So Andrew, do you have any questions before I go ahead?
I do. I mean, this is pretty crazy. So the idea is I'm a media company. I build a customer 360 in my own Snowflake. And then without any data movement, I can immediately blend and enrich that customer 360 with data from another media company or even a third-party provider like Equifax. It's pretty powerful. I guess, like, what are the most common use cases to actually do this?
Sure. The one of the more common ones is agencies sharing data with their providers, like
Mm,
clients, to drive higher campaign performance. The other one is the data providers like Equifax that we just saw, enriching customer profile both for publishers as well as agencies, right? That's what we see. And then the third one is the media publishers, like just the example that we saw, unifying the data set across platform through secure data sharing and data clean rooms. Like the example we saw. And the fourth, I would say, is the ad tech and martech companies sharing timely granular insight with their clients. So, in summary, what we have seen here is using Snowflake Data Cloud, we can understand subscriber and viewership behavior and build a complete customer 360-degree view of the subscriber. The data was never copied or moved over. On the second party, not the third party data set, for example, Equifax was copied or moved over. In fact, after we activate a campaign using Hightouch, we will even be able to measure the effectiveness of campaign using some of the marketplace data set provided by companies like VideoAmp, ComScore, etc. Right? So now, next, what we are going to see is how to deliver more personalized, effective campaign using Hightouch. Andrew, please take it away.
awesome. Yeah, let me share my screen now. Hopefully this works. Okay, awesome. Sri, that was super exciting. And I think, like, I guess transitions perfectly into like what I want to talk about, or what we're sort of trying to paint a vision of. And that's the idea that, you know, there's incredible power in Snowflake in not only being able to consolidate all your own first party data, but then enrich that and overlap it with other media companies, other brands, also other like third party data providers, so that you have the most robust individual understanding of every one of your own customers. The general thesis here, though, is Hightouch can sit on top of Snowflake and basically immediately allow you to actually realize ROI from this investment in data. So immediately sort of automate data pipelines to hydrate this information back into the tools used across the business to actually supercharge, you know, marketing automation, email campaigns, or even your like targeted advertising across the walled gardens. And the central idea here is that, you know, we are turning Snowflake into a customer data platform. This is CDP 101, is the idea of consolidating all information in one place and then allowing a marketing team to sort of deploy multi-channel campaigns in a self-service way. So I'm going to come down to this diagram here, and this is really, you know, exactly what Hightouch does, is sits directly on Snowflake, provides this lightweight activation layer to immediately access the data in Snowflake and activate that customer 360. So the idea is we'll query directly from Snowflake. And then there's this audiences platform. So it's specifically meant and used by marketing teams to define a cohort of users based on that first party data and that customer 360 that you shared with us. And then automatically distribute this out to downstream applications, SaaS tools, or advertising platforms to actually deploy these extremely personalized campaigns. And, you know, the reason this is so compelling and quite different from the architectural model of a CDP is that Hightouch is really just leveraging this investment in Snowflake. We conform directly to the data models that, you know, anybody wants to expose within Snowflake. And the time to value here is immediate. So we just plug into this data store. There's no implementation process. We're really just querying off of Snowflake and helping you immediately activate and push very specific subsets of data into these downstream systems. So maybe to make this a little more clear, I wanted to talk through a very specific scenario with our like fake media company here. So let's imagine at Invention Media, I'm on the marketing team. And we are launching this new hot streaming show specifically for people that love adventure. And it's intended, like, our demographic that we're going for is females that are over the age of 30. And, you know, we have this huge subscriber database in Snowflake, and it's enriched with, you know, other information, maybe from HLBO, maybe from Equifax, et cetera. But we want to make sure that this show is a hit and that we're targeting and letting all of those subscribers that we think would probably like it are aware as it actually gets launched. So we want to run a targeted ad campaign on Facebook to our existing subscribers that are specifically female, over 30, and have a history based on their viewership of watching other adventure-related content. And normally, to do one of these campaigns, we would typically have to make an ask from our data team, wait a week or two, eventually get some flat file or export. It's already stale, and then we'd manually import it into Facebook, and it would get less accurate over time as users bounced around, unsubscribed, or newly showed interest in a category. The idea here is marketers can iterate extremely quickly, do this completely on their own. And these audiences are just always live. So what's in Facebook is a direct synchronization of exactly what's in Snowflake, so that you never have to continue doing manual imports to keep them up to date. It's just always reflecting what's in Snowflake. So to make this probably a little more clear, I'll just jump through a very specific demo of the Hightouch platform. And again, this is really just connecting to those tables that you went through, Sri, in your demo in Snowflake. We're just referencing those tables and really just abstracting what we're doing in the Hightouch platform to SQL queries that execute on Snowflake, and then distributing the data down to Facebook's APIs. So let me jump into a demo here real quick. So again, let's imagine I'm an actual marketer on the Invention Media team. And again, I want to build a cohort of users that satisfy certain conditions. In this case, everyone over 30, everyone that's female, and everyone that's has a history of viewing adventure content in the past. So I'm going to build this cohort by just using this drag and drop UI. So give me all customers or subscribers that are female. In this case, I'm going to say gender equals female. Also, those that have a specific age. I think we said over 30. So I'm going to say greater than 30. And then lastly, those that have a history of viewing specifically content in Invention Media. Let's say, I think like in the last 6 months or so. And also, let's make sure that that actual viewership included them watching specifically adventure content. So all of this is just auto-completing and based on SQL models that have been exposed in Snowflake. And at the end of the day, this is really just a SQL query that gets executed on Snowflake. But of course, marketers generally don't have the expertise or the access to actually do these things themselves. So the idea is all of these conditions would abstract to a somewhat complicated SQL query that we execute on Snowflake. You have a view of every individual user. You can pluck them out, see what we know about this person. And we have an idea of the audience size. So these are 5,000 specific females that are watching adventure content that are very likely to be interested. So lastly, I'm going to save this. I'm going to say adventure, or I think we say female adventure watchers over 30. So I'll save this. And then the final step as a marketer is I just want to make sure this gets deployed to Facebook. So I already have a couple that are already deployed. And when I do that, I'm actually going to build a sync. So this is saying, let's take this audience, let's push it to this specific Facebook account, which I've already authenticated in this workspace. And let's actually define exactly how it shows up. So you go through this mapping exercise to say what fields within everything you know about your users should match to which fields on the Facebook side. And this is super important to optimize match rates, is just match up as many pieces of PII and identifiers that you have on these customers. In this case, I'll keep it pretty simple. We'll just match email and mobile ID because these are two attributes I know I have in my data model. So imagine in a real use case, you want to do as many as possible. And then I will inherit the name from my actual audience. Also, Hightouch is just going to automatically hash the PII. Really, anything hitting Facebook or Google or Snapchat's APIs has to be hashed. So we'll just do that in flight for you. And then the final step is just choosing your sync interval. So do you want us to run this every hour, every minute, every 5 minutes? Really up to you. You can also choose your own custom recurrence. But for the purpose of the demo, I'll just keep it simple and set it to manual. And then the final step here to actually deploy this, I can just hit this button. Of course, it could just be set up to run at a recurring frequency just so that we're constantly keeping this in sync every hour. But what we'll do is query that data set based on the audience that I just built, and then start processing it and pushing it into downstream Facebook APIs based on what was returned. So again, we have this audience of a bit over 5,000, and now we successfully pushed and built that audience within Facebook. And I guess just a key thing here, I'm just looking at time, is that for any sync, anytime we share data with a downstream system, you have complete observability into like what actually happened. So in this case, we updated 5,000 records and we provide visibility into exactly what we did. So in this case, we successfully added net new 5,000 users, and we segregate this view into maybe those that changed state, those that we actually removed from the audience, or those that actually were unsuccessful. And a key part here is I can, even search by a customer ID and pluck out a single record and understand the exact API request and response that led to us actually publishing and pushing this update to Facebook. Cool. That's pretty much all I wanted to show, is just a very basic example. But the central idea here is if you have invested in a data warehouse and a central source of truth and building a customer 360, of course, Snowflake provides a ton of capabilities on top of that. But to actually activate it and turn Snowflake into your CDP, you really just need this activation layer that provides not only the data pipelines, but also this marketing-friendly UI for folks to actually access these data models and build segmentation in a self-service way.
Andrew, question for you. Does Hightouch actually store a copy of the data, or does it remain only in Snowflake? How does it work?
Yeah, super important question, actually. And this is a key architectural difference between us and, say, a more traditional cloud CDP. The idea is Hightouch does not store data at rest at all in our infrastructure. So we're really just turning Snowflake into a marketing engine. But everything we do, we basically just have data run through our system only in transit during one of those active syncs. And then we actually write back into Snowflake exactly what was pushed so that you can run analytics on what was happened. But this provides, turning Snowflake into a CDP without having to replicate your data and sort of shove it into the rigid data models of a cloud SaaS CDP and have this sort of competing source of truth. It allows your whole business to just align on this one copy in the center.
So for the media example that we just walked through, what happens? How does Hightouch manage the subscribers getting added or removed from the source, from Snowflake? How does Hightouch handle that? Can you please explain that further?
Yeah, that's a super common question. So it's basically, how do we know and maintain state so that we're adding and removing users from that downstream audience appropriately based on the data set in Snowflake? The way we do that is basically, as I mentioned, we write data back into Snowflake based on what we just synced. So that, and we call this, native diffing, but basically every time we run a sync, we identify only the deltas, so only the incremental changes from what had happened in the previous sync, so that we're constantly, maybe you're running this every hour, only adding certain users and removing certain users based on the results of that query each time.
Got it. Thank you, Andrew. That was a great presentation.
Yeah, thank you everyone for attending, and thank you, Sri, for helping me host. It was super fun.
Yeah, same here. I hope you all enjoyed this demo and presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it. Bye.